In the top left, it's the Alpha X player. Give it up, Zoun. I'm going to say his name so incredibly wrong, and I feel so bad. He's my teammate. Spawning in the bottom right. Good Game Gaming. This is Patience. Now, I have spent a personal amount of time playing a lot of, or casting a lot of, rather, PvP from a much different angle. I cover a different league that has a very, very strong meta for PvP. It involves a lot of cheese. It involves a lot of proxies. So reorienting myself to what we'll call normal PvP. We'll get some Phoenix battles. We'll get some Blink Stalker into Disruptor. We're gonna. It's gonna feel weird to me. It's gonna feel normal to all of you. But something that kind of makes things a bit more interesting is the best of two format in these matchups. You're not going to find as many wild builds or wild plays in this sort of format because you don't want to potentially throw away a game. Every match is so very, very important, and especially for both of these teams having been able to position themselves in such a way that playoffs could be in the future. Some good wins, some very clean execution could mean a little bit more prize money. You don't want to throw away your shot. So we're seeing both players play rather safe and standard, getting into that 2 gateway, 1 cybercore opening. Wouldn't it be wild if we had a 2 cybercore opening? Absolutely not. Kind of like the wall here. Patience playing a bit more of a standard SimCity, but Zoun is kind of creating an interesting wall here, actually making himself a wedge in between those 2 gateways. So kind of an interesting position here. It actually blocks out the pylon scout. Yeah, so now Patience is going to have to pylon scout down at the natural. So a chance to try and delay a little bit of the Nexus timing, but more importantly, if Zoun wants to hide the opening units, he absolutely could. But instead, he's just going to decide to bring those stalkers down to the low ground and pick away at those. Stargate is going to be the order de jour for map number 1. Once again, this is going to start. It's going to start creating a catalyst in this PvP. Patience has already got his second Nexus down and in place. He's going to be able to get some scouting done with the Adepts here. Has to play pretty far back, though. Those Stalkers will put down a lot of damage onto that Adept if he's not careful. It's a large amount of sentries here for Patience. So Patience going to try and maybe get a wee bit aggressive. It's certainly going to have a lot more scouting potential as more of those hallucinations could be coming into play. But as it sits right now, one of those hallucinated Phoenix can fly on into the main base. We'll get a chance to spot out the Stargate. But over on Patience's side of the map, he does have a Twilight Council down. Will have that Forge on the way as well, so a bit more of a traditional ground timing coming in here. Oh, this is a fair bit of damage here. Zoun going to be able to get in, picks off a couple of the sentries as well, and gets out with 5 workers, and both of the Adepts survive. So good harassment so far, making Patience pay for the different build order here compared to his opponent. But Patience is going to put something up on the top side of the map. He does already have a Twilight Council. Will there be a proxy Dark Templar Shrine? That'd be, I mean, it'd be rather interesting and aggressive if that ended up being the case. So, but it's going to be up on the top side of the map here. He does have something going on there. It's going to be more damage coming down from these Adepts. Not going to be a significant amount more, but look at this. Nice scout up on the top side. It is a proxy DT Shrine, and that's going to be spotted immediately. Patience has to tap out of that. He can't afford to go into that kind of tech. That's great scouting by Alpha X's Zoun, as 2 more workers end up going down for Patience. Patience is just taking loss after loss right now. It's a transition into Blink Stalkers for Zoun, actually for both players. Zoun's going to be a little bit ahead on that regard, but Patience is trying to recover the mess that's been created for him here in game number 1. He's lost a handful of workers already to these really nice timing aggressions by Zoun. His proxy technology has been found out. So now what do you do if you're Patience? You have to rely on your name. You're just gonna take a deep breath and try and get yourself out to that third base location. But again, all over Patience here, stopping the initial transition into that third base. But now finally the probe is going to get out to that nexus at the third base location, and things can resume at least a little bit. But he's got a lot of work to try and catch up on. So far, things seem to be going rather well for Alpha X. Second base already fully mineral saturated here. Only one gas down at the natural. So have to keep an eye on that. Robotics facility going down for Patience. I think the primary concern for Patience in Good Game Gaming right now is that Patience is trying to go into that same standard ground Stalker or Blink Stalker immortal timing. Zoun's already about 7 seconds ahead. So in terms of engagement timings, I think we're going to start really spiraling ahead for the Alpha X player. But this is exactly what Zoun wants. This is exactly what he would like to try and play into. And now we are going to have that timing start to get more aggressive here. 2 more gateways being warped in. A third one on top of that just finished up. So a lot of good scouting coming into play. He's going to be able to see everything here, and he's going to realize, wait a minute, you're behind on your production structures. You're going to be rather vulnerable here. So these stalkers are going to wind up actually going to check the top corner just to be certain that that Patience didn't double back and try to be sneaky once again. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Zoun start to wind up his army. I mean, he's got 3 base mineral saturation here. Still running 3 gas, so not anything too technologically crazy coming down the pipe. But I mean, that 7-second lead is already jumped forward into a significantly sizable lead. Patience already working on his gateway structures right now, just getting his 4 extra gateways added into the mix. So that should be 6. Should be 6 gate versus 6 gate. Oh, he's actually going to get more even than that. So try and bring himself up to 8. Zoun's going to go for a 4th base. Yeah, this is easily winding up here for the Alpha X player, but Zoun's got to be careful. He doesn't want to overcommit to the economic advantage here. He does need to start getting aggressive with his army, and that does seem to be the case. We can see that army matchup here, 54-43, starting to go into his favor. Archon's being warped in at this time as well, and the Warp Prism will add a lot of devastating power to this push. And there's just not going to be that much here. So great force fields, though, allow Patience to whittle away at this army. But the third base is going to be completely locked out right now. I think Zoun can just continue to push on the throat here. And that's exactly what he's going to do. More aggressive warp-ins of Zealots coming in to help support this main army. That's a great Guardian Shield covering up the entirety of Zoun's army. Those disruptors here along the ramp, he's got to be careful. Those are going to be giant disruptor hits if they can land. But he's going to pick off a huge amount of those Zealots. The Zealot soak army here for Zoun is not going to be able to be available, and the Warp Prism is going to get picked off as well. A great blink by Patience to eliminate some of the aggression of this push. Zoun's going to have to back off here if he's not careful. There's going to be great aggressive warp-ins. There are some probes going down in the third base line here. 7 probes have gone down and counting, making this a bit of a more sizable advantage for Zoun. But look at the supply here, 106 to 101. This has to be pulled back. The recall is going to grab one of those immortals, so at least a little bit of the investment can be saved. But all in all, I don't think that was exactly the damage that Zoun was looking for here. Patience with a great call to get that Warp Prism out of the sky. It takes all of the teeth out of that push. But as a result, Zoun able to get his 4th base down and secured. He is going to protect this with some good stasis traps. Patience is going to need to get some aggression done on his own. This will be the first time he's actually really even getting out across the map. The DT Shrine is back. So he's going to try and wind into this again, but this feels like a very important moment for Patience. Patience has allowed his opponent to get a sizable economic lead here. His 4th base only just now going down moments ago. So every second that passes here, Patience continues to fall behind just a little bit economically, and we can see that here as the graph spikes in his favor. But now keep in mind that graph does look drastic. It is only a 600 advantage on the economic side, so it's not devastating yet. But again, you look at those spikes, 151 to 131 mere moments ago. That was right dead even supply loss. I think Patience is leaning a little bit too hard into his own name. He's playing a bit too patient. Zoun able to rebuild his army here, 153 to 143. These disruptors, though, will be the telling tale. If Patience can get some very good disruptor shots down, that will be an ending blow to Zoun. He's not going to have that much back at home as he's getting his 5th base down. We are going to see the dance back and forth. It is primarily Blink, Stalker, Disruptor for Patience. Zoun has a little bit more traditional ground army here, adding in those Archons and Zealots as well. Only 1 Disruptor here for Zoun. Okay, DT's going to spot where the army's positioned here, and it's actually going to be able to get on top of that Disruptor. That's a great amount of soft damage here that's being done. The DT Shrine getting nuked down. Zoun does not want that to survive, so he does put as much damage onto that as possible, making that a very soft target. And there's going to be an attack here onto the top side. The Zealots, I believe, are just working onto that potential 5th base location. Almost a great Disruptor shot onto those Stalkers, but a bold blink forward picks off the offending Disruptor in retreat. Patience now has taken a sizable advantage here. Finally, the Disruptors of Zoun are going to meet the army and force Patience back and away. But what happened up at that 5th base location for Patience? Okay, it did get cleaned up, so must have been a couple of DTs that picked off the reinforcing army there for Zoun. So not going to get the damage done that he needs. Every time you hear those Disruptor shots, oh, great pickoff on that Warp Prism. Zoun not going to be able to get some additional pressure in on the base. So every time we hear those Disruptor shots, we just have to cross our fingers and see what happens. That's a huge amount. Oh, 2 giant Disruptor shots go off onto Stalkers, but Zoun has the same happen to him. Both players desperately trying to land Disruptor shots, but also avoid their opponents, and it's so easy to go back and forth. You celebrate your Disruptor shot landing, but then all of a sudden it's like, I just lost half of my army. It takes a lot of mental patience, no pun intended, to not celebrate too early. But overall, it's almost a dead even split on resources lost. A couple of Disruptors open on the top side here. Giant blink forward. It's again just that micro battle here, and right now it seems like Patience is getting a little bit of the better engagements, but both players immediately just moving back and forth. What a crazy amount of micro happening right there. Good back and forth exchanges. Okay, now Patience being very, very bold here, trying to put that base very far forward. 6th base location when does he have his 5th base under lock? There's no mining happening at that 5th base location, and Patience trying to throw down his 6th. It's got to be trying to psych out Zoun. And make him think that he's got more going for him than he actually does. Oh, but this is going to be a scary moment here for both players. Both players just going to take good shots. Zoun at the 3rd base location of Patience, but Patience is going to destroy the 4th base location, picking off a similar amount of workers here. It's kind of a dead heat on the losses so far. Does Zoun have what he needs to be able to clean out that 3rd base in its entirety? It seems like that's going to be the case. The 5th base is also going to be under fire. But look at that back and forth here. I think Patience is getting the better end of the protection here. 152 to 131. He had some defensive warp-ins back at home to prevent a little bit extra damage. Joun's finally going to pick off the third base, but it comes at the cost of his fourth base. Somehow Patience did not pick off the fourth base as well. So both players are going to be even on base count. But the disruptor shots continue to equalize everything, but I don't know. I think Patience is going to be able to get the better engagement here. He's cleaned up Zhao's army, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot left here. Look at the disruptor count for Patience. Patience, 134 to 98. Oh, this just did not go in his favor the way he had it planned. There's going to be some extra upgrades coming in here for Zoun as he's going to get his DT Blink upgrade. He has Warp Prism speed to aid in some of the motion on aggressing these disruptors, but it's just not going to be enough. Patience. Yeah, the fact that there was just no like proxy robo, there was no like, oh man, I'm just gonna take 10 stalkers and go win the game at 4 minutes. It's so boring. What? PvPs can last more than 6 minutes? Who knew? Oh, of course, I love how so many. Oh, okay, no, that's just the scouting path. I was like, oh, where is that probe going? So many things changed the landscape in 2020 on how to host premier level tournaments and what we want to value and what we want to bring into the productions. But I think one of the greatest things that we tested and found a way to make work was the use of the player webcams for matches. I don't know how the players feel about that. I'd be curious to ask them. Obviously, they're used to it when they play in main offline events, but there is something very humanizing about having the two players on webcam. Granted, we are only seeing the Alphax player this morning, but it's nice to see facial reactions and how when big moments happen, how they react in the moment. And I do like that. I think it's one little piece of offline events that is kind of a nice addition in a primarily online event world. I know that we will not be in online events forever. Crossing my fingers real hard. We all got to keep doing our part. Hopefully, we will be rewarded with more in-person things in the near future. All right. Dramatically not interesting openings here for both of our players. Now, when we get back to Zhao's side of the map, he has opted into a more, I guess it's not super standard. I guess it is more standard. He does like having the single hole in the wall comparatively to having a space that is perfectly filled by a shield battery. So, very interesting. It's going to be a robotics facility for Zhou. Now, this is more my speed. Get that early warp prism out. You have a ton of aggressive pressure. You can reposition up in the main base. Patience ends up losing a probe, which is a sizable amount. This is going to prevent a little bit of scouting. And in fact, actually, Patience is going to come across with the hallucinated Phoenix and get good vision of this. Yeah, okay. So Warp Prism is going to be coming out. I like that. This I like a lot. Has Zhou been playing with AROG Fire? I mean, it's not a proxy, but this is the kind of aggression that you really have to be scared of in a PvP. Because if you hit it the right time and you haven't prepared, or you've invested too much into getting that Nexus down on the low ground, this could be a scary moment here. Now, Zhou is going to take a fair amount of damage. Patience does have one shield battery with the Nexus in tow, so there will be a shield battery overcharge available if he would like to use it. But here comes the reinforcing Warp Prism. This is where things can get a little bit dicey. So bringing in 3. Oh, great pin here. Great pin. Only grabs one of the the Stalkers, though. I think that was not as much as he was hoping to get. Zoun's going to show up here. 24 to 20. I'd love to see the units tab. That is so important. But we're now in one-tap territory for most of these units with the amount of Stalkers that Zoun has, and he has a de facto blink. Probes are going to get pulled off of the line to help aid, and now you just have to be patient. Patience has used his shield battery overcharge, so that means it's not going to be available for a significant amount of time, and the production cycle is just not as strong for Patience here. He's fallen behind 30 to 18, and we have that de facto blink. He's going to have that high ground vision. We'll be able to lift these units up and back and away. Oh, what a great save here by Zoun. He's going to be able to get so much damage done. There is a second shield battery, but there's not a whole lot to use with it. Barrier's already been popped by that Immortal as well, so Zoun can be very, very aggressive with these forward pushes here. He wants to get so much damage done onto that Immortal. He's going to sacrifice a lot of these units to try and get it killed, but the final shield battery in the back is going to place down so much damage. Zoun is not going to find the critical damage that he needed. Oh, this was a great hold by Patience. That Immortal staying so nimble, so spry. And this is... it's not a down and out, but look how late that Nexus is for Zoun. He's only now throwing it down. And there's probes continuing to be placed in here. This is almost an all-in situation here for Zoun. He can't afford to let his opponent continue to build up here. He's got two Immortals. He's got more Stalkers. The Stalkers are going to be able to get onto the Warp Prism. And this is starting to look a little scary for our red Protoss player. But fear not. Not entirely down and out just yet. He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve if he could sneak into the backside of the base and deliver a little bit of economic damage. He should be able to recover and at least move forward. Oh, that's not it. That's not it, unfortunately. Zoun losing all of his sentries here. That's a terrible amount of gas loss. Yeah, and you can see it a little bit in his face. He was not happy with that, nor was he expecting that. Trying to put a lot of focus onto that Warp Prism. Now the economic damage is almost a given, but Patience is just going to park those Stalkers right there. It's like, if you want to get on in, that's totally fine, but it's not going to be easy, and there's no return flight. And unfortunately, a recall was used on those sentries to try and rescue them in the last second, so no way to take that Warp Prism back in a quick way. Just going to have to fly it back on his own. And now the Immortal harassment is going to continue to cause more and more problems here for Zoun. 72 to 60, the supply disparity so far. It was a bit of a good engagement, though, at least putting down a little bit of damage onto the Immortals. But even a overpowered shield battery is going to make this defense very, very challenging. Patience has just been on point with his force field placements. Oh, those Adepts are going to get all the way in. There is one Disruptor here, but one Disruptor is not going to rescue him from certain damage. Those Adepts getting so much damage done in the main mineral line. 10 probes, and the probes are getting pulled into more devastating damage. Just a rough set of situations here for Zoun. He's trying to juggle as much as he possibly can. Loses both of his Immortals. GG it's called, and Patience with the 2-0.